Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk here at Mac. Our learning target today is I can use the design process to solve problems by creating new and imaginative solutions using a variety of tools. And so in this episode, I am going to show you how to make an earbud holder on the laser cutter. So our very first step after we've created our artboard is to make our layers over here. So we're going to make sure this panel is open on the right by clicking the two white arrows and come down to the fourth panel. At the bottom right is the Create New Layer icon, which is a piece of paper with like a flipped up corner on it. So we're going to click that. We're going to double click Layer 1 and name it Engrave. And just type in Enter or click Enter after you do that. Layer 2 we're going to name Cut, and we're going to click Enter to do that. And then the first thing we need to do is go get our shape to trace. So I'm going to go over here to File, Open, and find the image that I want to trace. So I will use this one and click Open. And then as always, I want to drag this off of the artboard. Okay. If I didn't want to trace an image for this to be either cut out or to be engraved, and I was drawing my own image, then I would just come over here and go to my cut layer and draw in whatever image I wanted it to be. So for example, I would always want to set this to none so it has no fill color. I would change this to RGB red for my stroke line, and my stroke width would be 0.001, enter. Okay, and then I would just come to my drawing tools over here and draw whatever shape I wanted it to be in. And this could be if you were making the phone stand or the door hanger or the earbud holders, whichever project you decided to make, you can always draw your own shape in here instead of tracing an image to cut. So if I wanted to just draw a very basic earbud holder, I could draw a shape on here. I could add an animal head or something to the top of it if I wanted to. And then I would need to make the holes for my earbuds, and so I would have to measure my earbuds to make sure these were the right size. But I would, if I hold down the Shift key and draw my circles, I can make it the correct size. I can also just click once on the artboard here and tell it what size I need my circle to be. So I could do a 1x1 circle, whatever size it needs to be. And so depending on your specific earbuds. Okay, so once I drew my circles to the specific size I needed them to be, I can copy that to make an exact duplicate by going to my black arrow and holding down the Alt key on the keyboard and clicking the center of this and dragging down, and it would make an exact duplicate of the first circle so I wouldn't have to redraw it to make sure I got the same size both times. Okay, I would position these wherever they needed to be positioned for how I wanted this to look. And then I also probably want to have some type of notch cut into it here so that I can wrap my cord around it. And then maybe a little circle down here to tuck the end of the cable into when I'm done. And so first I'm going to just make like a little tiny circle right here to tuck in the cord when I'm finished wrapping it around. Okay. And then I think for my notches, I'm just going to do a circle right here that I can move. So I'm going to put that on the line where the X is on the line, and I'm going to do an Alt copy again so I can do the same thing across on this side. And see the little green guideline that pops up to show you that you are in exactly the same spot, so it's together. If I hold down the Shift key and click each of these shapes that I want to put together, I am going to come up here to my shape modes on my Pathfinder tool, and I'm going to say minus the front. And so when I do that, it's going to cut that little notch out right there for the cable to be wrapped around for this. Now if I didn't want to do it this way and I wanted to do an image instead, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control A and hit Delete on the keyboard. I would come over here and trace my image like I showed you guys in the last video to cut something out. So I would come up here and click the drop down arrow and tell it to cut it or to trace it as a silhouette so it makes a solid black image. And I'm actually going to use his eye holes that are already here for my earbuds to go through. If they're not the correct size, I could resize them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit expand. When you're tracing, if you have areas like this that aren't solid black and it's not a spot that you're going to want to cut out, then you can just use the white direct selection tool and come over and click on those and delete them. Okay. Now, sometimes it's good to hit Control Y because you think you have it all deleted, but you don't, and so you have to come click on the line in here and hit delete twice to finish deleting that circle all the way. Okay. So I'm going to hit Control Y and put this back. I'm going to go to my select tool and click on my image and drag it up here on top of my name and down on top of my artboard. Zoom out so that I can resize this, and I can tell that it is on my cut layer because the lines turned red, and that's what color the square is over here. So I'm going to resize this to fit on my artboard by holding down the Shift key. Okay. And then it needs to just be a red outline and not have this solid black color to it. So I'm going to zoom back in, and I'm going to come up here to my fill color and turn it off to none. Go to my stroke color and change it to this RGB red. If it does not say RGB red here, then you did not set your template up correctly and will have to, your artboard correctly, and we'll have to go back and redo it. And our stroke width to 0.001, enter. Okay, so then that's going to give us that thin line. I can see that I still have this outline that I forgot to delete, so I'm going to come back to my white arrow and click that outline. Hit delete twice, and sometimes you'll have to go all the way around the image and do that if the image is really close to the edge to make sure you get all the pieces. Okay, so now I have my image trace that I want to have on here. I have the little holes here for my earbuds to go through. Since I have these narrow spots right here, I can just use those to wrap my cord around. Okay, but I also want to give it some detail on to engrave a face into here. So I'm going to go to my engrave layer, come back over to my picture and do the same thing we did before. I'm going to undo all of this so I can retrace it. Okay, so I'm going to drag this off of the artboard. I'm going to click Image Trace the normal way. Okay, it's going to trace my image. If I needed to, I could open up the Image Trace panel and darken or lighten my lines up. I'm going to go ahead and leave it like it is. Click Expand to finish tracing it so the blue dots appear to know that it's a vector. Click Off to deselect it so there's no blue again. White arrow, white background, delete. Okay, white arrow, white background, delete. So as many times as you need to do this to completely get rid of your white background. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on the image and move it over here. Now, one thing I could have done when I did this is I could have come up here to Object, Transform, and Scale, and put in a percentage that I wanted this to scale down to so that I would have known exactly what size the outline was and this shape was, to make it easier whenever I tried to fit these back together so that I didn't have to worry about whether or not I had them the same size and having to fit it back into my puzzle here to get it resized the same. Okay, so that sometimes makes that a little bit easier. So I have that here now. It's going to engrave this. It's on my engrave layer. Anything that's black, it will engrave. I need to get rid of these holes in the middle because it's going to cut that out anyway, so there's no point in those being there because it's going to cut a hole right there for the earbuds, and so there's no point in engraving that and then cutting it out. Okay, so now I have my area that's going to be engraved, and I just need to add text to it so that it is finished. So at least one word of text. Okay, so I'm just going to click right here and just type now we're just going to type koala there because I don't want too much text because it's a really small space. And choose my font again. Okay, and my size. So I have to watch because the size on this, it's got a small area. So put my text on here, right click my text and say Create Outlines, and I am ready to go. I'm going to save that project and then my earbuds are ready to go. So laser, and I'll just name this earbuds because it's for me. Save, save. Okay. And it's ready for you to finish up your EDP and get it turned in. Hope this episode helped. Have a great day.